This is a project I've been working on, and it's quite a simple idea. It's basically seen that open source software is really, really great, and it provides a great service. But this project is aiming to work using open source software with the whole mentality of it, to work in a profit-making company where 100% net profit is donated to charity, and that does two principal things. One thing, it creates arguably a slightly new form of capitalism where you have the competitive company, but then all of that good and hard work goes into basically goodwill projects. And the second thing is, when that money is given to charity, it can be given in a way where the most efficient charities get the money, and that's debatable about how that's done. But that has a really strong impact, because at the moment charities get money the majority of the time from goodwill and people just giving it, so there's no real incentive for them to be that efficient. Whereas this way, if the money is created and then given to the most efficient charity, then the charities have an incentive to become more efficient, and by becoming more efficient, you know, whatever, their money goes further. So building on that kind of mentality, the next step that I'm working on, where I need a lot of help, because it's maybe a bit out of my depth, is to create a social site, because the next step I've seen is people use MySpace, Bebo, Facebook, and their social actions, which are all done in good faith, they're just mucking around, they are used by a capitalist company to make a profit. So in fact, they are kind of being used by the company who's providing the software. So the next step is to create an alternative, a sort of ethical, in inverted commas, alternative. And I'm looking basically for any feedback on any obvious fundamental flaws that I've missed. If you think there's any good organisations that might be interested in funding this, or any people who might be interested in collaborating on this. And that's about it. So far I've contacted, there's one person who creates a site called matez.net, and they're basically a MySpace clone, and like everyone else, they're not really going anywhere because they don't have a USP or any reason for anyone to use their site. And my maybe naive belief is that something like this could create or make people, or motivate people to change sites. Questions would be wicked, is that right?
So you're looking to kind of create another social networking site to kind of generate revenue for charities? Is that what I...
Yeah, that's it. But not the problem I think with charities is they have quite a short-sighted approach. Maybe it's institutionalized because they have to create profit and spend it on goodwill causes, fair enough. So they arguably can't invest money, or particularly a lot of time, which costs money, in new innovative projects.
Right.
So I'm trying to do it outside the charity sphere.
The only thing is basically is the opposite. YouTube and any social MySpace, they were before starting from like any friend-to-friend network, and because they generate enough user, they've been bought over by big company. So basically, you start from the same point. So is your will against their will somehow? If you basically want to replace something like YouTube or MySpace, it's like you're talking about millions of users. So basically, to get to this point, somehow, you need a, I don't know. Yeah, so much better than me about that. How to get a million users?
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of unbelievably ambitious, probably very arrogant, but you know, you've got to ask this question, even if it's crazy. And so far I've seen there's two key points. One is the usability. People can't take crap usability, because you've seen in the past there's charity, whatever, trading, music retail sites that have had bad usability, and arguably that's one of the reasons they fail. So as long as you can in my opinion, competes. If you can provide an exactly identical service or arguably a better service, people have a fair chance at changing because they can say you've got the same service, but it's doing something good.
I guess it's in which level do you I don't know. I talk about his imaginations, but it would be like a matter of level where you start, and we are already in the bottom. So basically, you're already receiving your tube. So basically, you start as a user. The people who made it, they made it 10 years ago, and the impulse start much. I don't know, but the word of mouth, even if it was just word of mouth, it just starts much higher, much within the hierarchy, the technological hierarchy, I will call it, or within the, I don't know, the first user of the internet are the American for the moment. I think 98%, no, maybe no, let's say 50 or 70% of American who log on every day. You're not there. The switch to digital things, where basically the English market should be getting into enough user to make it happen. In England, it's like 60%. It's not even that. Sorry? Something like that?
Yeah.
60%. Anyway, so I don't know.
All right, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the quick question is how do you measure efficiency? And if you start measuring charities based on their economic efficiency, don't they become corporations? And in context of kind of, and I think that's a major issue, actually measuring efficiency based on kind of economical goals and all of those corporate slang words. But also in terms of YouTube being ultimately a single channel broadcast model where, yeah, there are lots of peers adding into it, but then it's just a single channel to a kind of mass audience out, and there are other kind of peer-to-peer models that are, again, more difficult to measure actually their impact and the kind of spread of their kind of nodal-like networks. So I think that the question of kind of measuring efficiency and popularity are key to what you're looking into.
Yeah, I agree. That's, yeah.
The first big one was Hotmail. Hotmail was invented by...
Okay.
Go straight in there.
Well, you got this thing, recognising trade profit in our community. Can you define our community here?
Yeah, well, it has to be inverted commas because it's debatable about things. Our community being, global community being everyone in this planet as a human race as a whole, basing on the fact that arguably we're all related to each other. So we should look after everyone in our community rather than favouring, certain people over the others.
And have you actually started working out some criteria for measuring the so-called efficiency of these charitable organisations?
Yeah, I mean, that, like you say, there's problems with measuring it. You can measure efficiency on how many people you help versus how much it costs. And you can segregate that into areas, because obviously some people are harder to help than others. But within, say, a sector, which will be whatever the sector is, I mean, you've got loads of different charities working in different sectors at the moment, and you arguably have multiple charities doing the same or very similar jobs in one sector, say, whatever, homeless versus cancer. And the quality being what the number of people or how well you help each person. Yeah, well, that's fair enough. That's another thing that needs to be measured. But if it's, say, the obvious problem is if the money's not being spent that efficiently, then not, say, 50% of the people that could be being helped are being helped. If you can raise that to 100% on the fundamental things, then that would be great.